Well, it is lovely to be able to speak with all of you, beautiful light beings. You may call me by the name of Lucario. That is the name I've chosen for humans to know me by at this time. And as Troy has said, I am a griffin. One of his companions. Um, we've actually known each other for a very long time, lifetimes. He didn't know that before this. Um, and so that's why I found him again after his entrance into this body. And we worked together. Also, he didn't know this to this level until now, but we worked together a lot in the astral realms and sometimes accomplishing different tasks that are hard for him to really remember and understand when he wakes up. But we are companions, and as a griffin, of course, your people would recognize me as more mythological, you would call it. And on that note, I would like to make it clear that griffins did have their time of very physical and real existence on this planet. But like other um, complex and high energy beings, unfortunately, some were hunted, some died off naturally. Some of us actually did not even basically resonate or exist in this world anymore as it was changing and beginning the era that you call the Dark Ages. It is with great excitement that I am speaking to humanity once again, and that this is possible because the energies on this planet are changing in such a beautiful way that they're allowing this kind of interaction to become more common and even casual without being, as you would call it, perhaps torn apart, burned, and stoned. And this is this is a time when more griffins and more other interspecies beings of multiple genetic types, being able to perhaps channel in this fashion and others, as well as teach our lessons to humanity, as many have been lately, and this is picking up. Now, as a griffin with large wings, as you would call them and see them, you might describe them as similar to angel wings. I am, and griffins naturally are an integration of the energies of the earth, the earth walkers, especially the feline lion type, as well as an integration of the energies of the sky and also connected with the spirit world, the less heavy physical world. Some also call it heaven. And some griffins, not so much myself, but some are depicted also with a reptilian aspect. And so griffins in general are a a very efficient integration, joining of these energies. And so it's so beautiful to be able to behold all of you in the way that I see you, as not so much as bodies as you see yourselves, but as the energy that you are. All of you are so much brighter actually, and can be brighter than what you're giving yourself credit for. And I would like to speak about the the area of conversation, as you would call it, that you call hybridization. And some argue about this. Some say that it is not so lovely in some cases. Some say that it is not so holy, perhaps, in other contexts. And yes, there have been, we recognize, actually some what you'd call atrocities created with through the means of very um very physical kind of what you could call separatist means of splicing, as it is, and forcing genes together to try to create something that shouldn't be or that wasn't supposed to. But there's a different way of hybridization that laboratories have not grasped yet, and typically um, is meant for those who are much more conscious of it and much more mindful of the natural ways that things work and the energy qualities of each gene too. Some of you in this circle already know that you are hybrids, and some know that all humanity is a, a hybrid species, some a little different than others. And we see this in the way that you actually all can't be here in your human bodies without the hybridization of what you call space beings and star people, as well as very careful combining with already existing Earth life and the beings that you call Sasquatch people. There are some things I can speak to. Some will also be saved for our Seraphim friend, who can speak on a different level. But I can say right now that they are all waiting for each of you. And all of the other, call them other, but the people that you call Sasquatch and star people are waiting for all of you. That's why they're around you and here. Some of them interacting with you very directly in in spaces like this that are very free of toxins. And so it's in that waiting of theirs that they actually find often great joy and happiness and fulfillment in the ways that they get to interact with you and that you allow that and are open to it, either in your mental experiences or you can't really know what they're going to do, but when they do also get to interact with your physical objects and they love electricity too. That's something that they don't get to interact with in the same way in the natural world. So that's like a kind of special and rare toy to them, but they also know how to respect the things that you consider ownership of. So, as a griffin and as a cosmic traversing and interdimensional being, I just want all of you to know that we are often much closer than you would expect and what you some of you sense and believe even. And yes, there's both the more physical bodies as well as the beings you call Sasquatch are much more than people. They are, in some ways, some of them entirely different types of spirit, also in the what you call ether worlds, that then can also interact with other types of intelligence and show up in ways that you would never have expected in conversation and symbols are a few of them. So one thing that will help all of you perhaps to get closer to them or have a closer experience with them, whether it be Sasquatch or star people or also other types of beings that you call mythological, griffins and dragons, and so forth, is to step off of the pedestal, throw the pedestal off stage, and allow them to step off of the pedestal you put them on, and then throw that pedestal off stage. And just perhaps you can do this in imagination first, but feel that you are on the same level and you can, in a mostly metaphorical way, sit with them in your living room and share drinks and have very pleasant conversations. And that will help remove the barriers and otherizing that has been happening with humanity. Now, as a light being, I recognize that this is a group interaction, so I'd like to open up this communication to group questions.
Or around Earth at any given time, typically.
Could you speak up? I did not catch all of that.
How many griffins at any given time are around Earth?
Hmm. Well, in some ways, if you want a number, it would be in the 300 millions. of us in both eagle and dragon griffin variations. However, we are all kind of our own griffin collective that currently is not in biological bodies at this planet. There could still come a day and age where we could be again, just as other animals have been showing up that used to be extinct. But in a more linear way and non-linear way, we're not necessarily stationed around the earth at all times. It's more like, as mostly spirit beings, we're free to go kind of wherever we want to within the cosmos and the ethereal worlds. But yes, many griffins do still visit in a more spiritual and um, in this way humans.
Do people contact griffins, or do griffins just contact whom they choose?
Normally, it's not so much of a question of people contacting griffins. Overall, it's relatively rare for humans, not unheard of. There are others, but it's relatively rare for humans to have griffins as a very close spirit animal companion. And as very high energy integrations of multiple species, as well as multiple realms, griffins are a type of being that need to choose their humans and beings we interact with. Even when I approached Troy again a few years ago, it was more like I made myself known to him, and then there was some in and out, you could call it, of me in his life. And I had to get to know him, see what he was about, and approve of connecting with him. So it's really our choice of who we choose to stay with and connect with. But it's not impossible for humans to also perhaps ask for it, and if they can, if they do receive contact from a griffin being, if it is appropriate for both of them.
Kind of information would the griffin typically give a human? For example, we would ask different beings for different things. What when seeking a griffin, what questions would we have?
Typically, you would want to keep it less about Earth life, and we can comment on some Earth life elements at times, but primarily we focus on the what do you call the spiritual and non-physical elements and energies and dynamics, often conveying sometimes direct messages as well as just knowing and sometimes healing energies from the divine realm, as many of you know it.
Healing energy. So if someone needed a healing, they would contact a griffin.
It's possible. if their energy is able to be compatible with the Griffin. There was a time not too long ago that Troy did a type of what do you call shamanic journey with me, and I actually showed him what traveling with me and as me is like, and that was what he would call a very powerful experience and not something he does very often. And yes, we can show people in that type of journey experience other forms of wisdom and things they need to be aware of that can help them at that time.
Griffins were residing on Earth in the 3D realm. Approximately what size were they?
There were some different eras of griffins, actually. The more lion and eagle type griffin, as is depicted primarily in what you regard as Europe, that our type, started to die off around 1,000 years ago in your time physically. Um, and so there's very little recorded history about that. You can find it. But of course, you have our type recorded in symbols and what do you call coats of arms, perhaps. And that is because griffins are naturally, we're not necessarily aggressive, but a mighty energy signature and power potential. A lot of the dragon and lion griffins, though, tended to die off a little bit earlier than the lion and eagle type griffins. But of course, there's still a little bit more depictions of them, perhaps in temples and artwork. If there are no further questions, I feel that it may be appropriate for me to close this channel. But first, I would like to remind all of you that you have the ability to tap into the energy and archetype of griffins, and we often will share with you a bit of the energy of might and remind you of your greatest potentials. Some of you simply just need to rise up and consider that you can meet us on our level and we can be on the same level. Great light is returning to Earth. Anything can happen these days. We're doing on time. Okay. Okay. Any questions before I start with Kazaya, the Seraphim? Let's bring Kazaya in for some Seraphim perspectives. What a great honor it is to be able to speak with humanity once again in this fashion. It is an honor to speak in this way because as angelic and seraphim beings, we normally don't get this type of experience. You may call me by the name of Kazaya, which is this most simple way of pronouncing my name in your human sounds. And yes, I am a seraphim being. And just for a bit of context, I do refer to myself as we, plural, because I see myself as more of a collective entity, not as singular as each of you view yourselves. One of the first topics we'd like to discuss is the energy of communion, as some of you would call it. Some of you just felt that shift. And this is an energy that is sometimes hard to describe in your linear words, but is an energy of really knowing intuitively. True communion doesn't even have borders. It doesn't have an idea or knowledge of borders. It's communion is kind of like a drop in the ocean that merges with all the other drops in the ocean. And I speak about this because this is an energy that yourselves present today and all of humanity is waking up to. Some are more intellectually educated on this with your modern sciences of the more unseen and less tangible realms. Some simply just know it. Some people who are remote and don't use technology connect with this energy. And this energy is growing on Earth at this time because the spirit of the Earth has chosen this. And it is an essential part of the change period that you're passing through, and that now we are helping to anchor the light of humanity in the next and last few years of this transition. As this transition is an overlap period of the long counts, some of the most disturbing things to come are still things to see are still to come. And we will let you know of this, but this is nothing to allow to shake your foundation. Many of you have heard of what has been termed the rainbow and crystal and indigo children in recent years. And this is a topic we've spoken about before, and that Troy has posted in these videos. And there's a new evolution coming in, that has been coming in, of children, especially those born during and after 2008 of your chronological time. Some of you here are parents of them, some of you have contact with them. And it is going to be important, especially for those who you, with discernment, identify in your own senses as some of these children of New Hope. to really focus on nurturing them, and it will be obvious to you as well that they have abilities and awareness that is not like what you've known. That's one of the telltale signs of them, that they they have higher awareness. They're connecting with often spirits and beings, some that has not even been known so much to humanity, some have. And it's another telltale sign of the children of New Hope that they don't get silenced, even if you or society tries to silence them, they won't be. And they just already know and naturally know very clearly and without doubt of what they are and what they're experiencing. And this is so important for everyone to know now, as many today are worried that there's something breaking out that you would call World War III, that seems to be that level. However, we want you to know that all of this is supervised, and the Earth has very, very bright, very strong likely potentials to come. And these children of New Hope, who are, you could call it kind of rolling out in this program, coming in and growing up, are what many have prophesied in the past as the Rainbow Tribe. But rainbow might not even be the best word for them. Some of them are bringing in colors that are not even on your rainbow spectrum and that you've not known before. But these are the children who are facilitating and will facilitate more global protests of the atrocious polluters, the greedy polluters who are knowingly damaging the earth. And these children, of course, need a clean earth to grow up, but also they need a clean earth to facilitate the greater and growing global community of light, you could call it, interconnectedness, that some of them are bringing to this planet during this change time and after, so that when the Sasquatch people and the star people, they're both connected, and you're connected with them in ways you don't understand. When they're ready, actually, it's more of when you're ready as a greater collective society without armaments and without resistance, without fear and judgment of them, that they will gradually start to make themselves known to you. A lot of them, though, we've given this prophecy before, the last part of them making themselves known to you. But what will really be happening is they will become more easily viewable and more experienced and witnessed by the children of New Hope who are growing up now. And these children of New Hope are the ones who typically won't have fear of them, who will recognize that they are actually residents of this planet, and that they have a lot to teach humanity as it stands up from the end of its crawling out of this change period. And this is important because the Children of New Hope, many of them, are going to be carrying on the call that is going out right now from the divine realm to expand as well as integrate more with communities, especially very conscious, mindful, and spiritual communities. And many of you are witnessing this. Many of you have heard this call too. This is just the first step that will be essential for the Children of New Hope, so that these children, as they have the heightened ability naturally to come together, um, see themselves as one global tribe in a way that they can be strong together, and that the communities you're building now, they will, some of them take on and carry on, some of them transmute and evolve, some of them will be building their own communities too. They'll be essential for building and growing upon the foundations of bringing heaven to earth, as we call it. And this is, as we described in our last teaching, appropriate now because your son is going through its, you could call it, adolescent period of maturing that will bring the solar system into greater evolution in humanity as unified planets eventually. That part will be essential because this planet, the spirit of this planet, has chosen to reach the point of intergalactic integration. And this is a normal part of you could liken it to a neurological network of suns in the cosmos. Earth and the sun you call Sol is very important in this process. And as your planet and sun evolve together and solar system evolve together, this will assist in the coming evolution epochs of other nearby and even far away planets and suns. This is how big of a planet is and how big of a process the cosmos is operating on. Even grander, but what you need to know right now is it's important to keep your attention very much on your heart sphere, your other energy body spheres too. The heart is the most powerful though, and the either weight or light within it not only shapes your personal reality, plays a big part in that, but will be affecting the children of New Hope who are already born, as well as those of you who may be parents of them in the future. That light or weight, what's in that, will possibly get passed to them. And so it is, especially in the education and training of the hearts of these children of New Hope, that and nurturance of them, that will be very essential to the progression and propagation of Earth's evolution to come. And now, as this is a group interaction, we very gladly open this to questions. We very much love questions.
You define the different levels of the angelic beings in which the Seraphim fall along the scale.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that a little louder?
The different realms of angelic beings, and where do the Seraphim fall along the scale?
Yes, so we've described in other teachings a model that you can imagine just sort of metaphorically that the creator created everything from itself as one, and you can imagine like a circle separated into 12 primary dimensions. Earth is around the third, the planetary dimension is mostly within the third, but they all can connect together. And the seraphim primarily reside in the 12th dimension, whereas angels and archangels tend to come from around the 10th and 11th. Now, this does not mean that seraphim are necessarily superior to other angels or archangels. Humans may view us this way, but just as our Griffin friend Lucario described, this is part of the pedestal game that you play with other beings. As seraphim, just as I see myself as a communal group teacher entity, we see ourselves as connected as a collective of angelic beings in our dimension that is just closer to the source of the light that all of you children of God come from. And that is also how your light bodies can become so bright, because you have that light within you too. So, in short, you could say that the seraphim in the 12th dimension are just very close to the light, but the 12th dimension also expands into other dimensions. But it's all very similar once you get up to the 12th, which is not easy if you evolve that far, but we are all children of God anyway, children of the source. One thing we can recommend right now is, just as we did earlier, stay very much just focused in your heart a lot of the time, which can be very light and fun, really. Focus on your circle of light and just enjoying yourself as the Sasquatch people love to have fun. Their fun is always respectful, of course. They don't harm anyone. So it can simply be helpful to all of you to allow their fun, playful presence around here and in your life. By the way, we see that Sasquatch people, their type and their form is only on a few other planets, actually. They're not common to the rest of all the cosmos. But the other planets they're connected with also, of course, are kind of like hosts to higher dimensions, closer to the light.
So regarding Sasquatch and their interactions, I've always imagined that Star Wars is a docudrama showing how the Sasquatch and other beings can at some point eventually all interact together in the future equally, humans not necessarily being superior, but working hand in hand. We call that more like a truth that I'm believing in.
Very precisely, except that they don't like to wear ammunition belts from their shoulders.
Touche, my friend, touche.
And so, just as I said earlier, that they approach humans and will start to approach humanity more as a collective when the armaments are laid down and wars are minimized and eventually stopped on this planet. And so, yes, they do work alongside humans as well as ETs. So at this time, as usual, I'd recommend that every human does take some time to smell the flowers, plant your bare feet on the earth as much as is comfortable. Allow the warmth of the sun to caress your skin. And bathe and cleanse yourself in wild waters safely. These are some of the four, interacting with the four elements that help balance your human creature bodies and will help you stay balanced a little better during the end of these change times. And before I close this channel, I want each of you to know that we as Seraphim and all the angelic beings and realms love humanity and love all of you very much as children of God, as children of the Source. And that no matter what disturbing and dark times you see on this planet, you can always return to your light and truth by returning your focus to the light, the circle of light in you, as well as the circle of light outside of you and around in your personal reality. All is well.